a really fun series because this man that we are going to introduce first actually gets a lot of respect often from the top tier players in the European scene as well. And we all know those European top tier pro gamers. We love them, but they're very confident and sometimes cocky, so if they give him kudos, he obviously absolutely deserves it. In the top right side of Data C, we're looking at the main base of the man that's representing Kaizi Gaming. This is Time.
And spawning over in the southwestern side, as our Blues are currently playing for Team Liquid, it is Elazer.
It's only got very quiet from me. I don't know how it is for you.
I'm hearing everything, Gabe. I'm hearing everything.
But I do believe that the audience
such.
in Atlanta is still making a lot of noise. I see them clapping. I've seen the cheerful so far. I'm loving it. The NA scene is really showing up so far. Even before this tournament started, there were an overwhelming amount of sign-ups. You know, in Valencia, we kind of had trouble filling that massive player pool that we are going for here. Weeks prior to the event, there were already people on the waiting list to participate in this event, and that's just really cool to see. It's obviously been a little while that we had such a big event in NA. I'm really happy to see A, people having a lot of fun, and B, being very eager to play.
NA have shown up, man. They've shown up in dividends. Like, the crowd is there, the players are there, the backups are there, the people that are like, damn, I really wanted to play. And, you know, so far, I think the players are delivering too. Vindicta just got cruising through that knockout bracket, doing very well for himself. Scarlet already got a win in her group, going up against, let's have a look at that player, Dom Ragu. And I mean, she's had to fight for it too, right? Like, she's had 2 one-hour games already, still going. This is going to be a marathon of a day.
Yeah, we have a couple of cool updates already of the third group stage. Clem on his opening best of 3, 2-0 over Gerald. Cyril, the great Jonas Sutala, one of the top tier favorites obviously to win it all, got a 2-0 victory over Lambo. Lambo is going to be absolutely kicking himself for dropping a series in the previous group stage. We talked about it, seeding is important. Lambo ended up in a group with Cyril, Cure and Bunny. I mean, that's about as tough as any third group stage is going to be. That's just brutal.
I was looking at that group, right, and that was one of the groups that I can say that I wouldn't want to land in my wildest dreams, you know, and it's like Bunny joined the group and then Lambo as well. That's just brutal. Here we do have a little bit of the Reaper shenanigans heading to the main base, not to get any damage done so far. And behind this, he's going for a 3cc build, which, you know, that's a nice greedy build to go for. Nothing crazy so far. The Reaper won't be able to get much damage done, doesn't get to deny the first Reaper or first creep tumor. All things said and done, it's a nice standard TVZ to start things off.
Yep, and I do expect relatively standard play between these two. Time is definitely not known to be a very cheesy Terran. He just kind of likes to be out on the map, likes to be aggressive, but there's always SUV production going up at home. Maybe once in a while you see a little Hellbat attack or a battlecruiser opening, but more often than not it's going to be Heli and Banshee, maybe Heli and into a Raven just to push back the creep a little bit. And Elazer also a very macro-oriented Zerg, who does like to make big swells of Lings in the mid-game, but will always look for a transition out of that too. You're not going to see him hard stuck at a crappy Zerg economy. I'm just really excited for these two because I completely agree with Twitch chat. This is a very close series. And this group, I honestly think, is very doable for both players. Ragnarok has some hype behind him because of that great GSL run, but I really don't think of Time and Elazer as weaker players as Ragnarok. Maybe that's a hot take, Ben, but I personally don't think it is. Ryong didn't look fantastic against Solar, but we all know that Ryong can show up when it matters the most. Think back of IM Katowice. This is one of these groups where I feel all 4 players can win it, all 4 players can finish in the last place, and these are obviously the most fun groups.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm totally with you. I think there's some stylistic clashes going on, like, so Solar against Ryong. Ryong wants the Zerg to keep attacking him, right? Like, that damage that he can get done early on, Elazer might be a far better matchup for him than Solar, given that Solar can sit back, doesn't rely on those big attacks and things like that. And already a very early armory going down for Time here, so maybe he has some shenanigans up his sleeve here, maybe going to go for some Widowmine drops afterwards, maybe a bit of a Hellbat push, which we haven't seen that off a 3cc opening in quite some time, but he is the kind of guy that can whip out these 2-base builds as well, but this a little bit sloppy from him so far.
Yeah, that's definitely a little bit sloppy. I'm not exactly sure what happened there. We just lost the Reaper, it just soaked up queen shot after queen shot, and then even one of the Hellions went down. There wasn't really anything else happening, right? I'm keeping close on the minimap. It's not like a couple of links ran into the natural. Not quite sure what happened there. Maybe Time expected the queens to be a bit further back and he was macroing at home. But that's not something you want to see too many times of him throughout the series, because obviously Elazer is a very capable player in this matchup, and he's going to punish every little mistake you make. We do have a little Hellion drop in the main base, and Elazer, I want to say, is a little bit late to pull the drones away. I actually absolutely love that he kept them in Hellion mode at first, then morphs them into Hellbat. 2 more Hellions make it into this middle line at the bottom side of the map, and time is off to a flying start here, Benjamin.
This is fireworks for time right now. 13 drones going down, and lots of lost mining as well. That is absolutely the kind of opening he was looking for. And yeah, I love that as well, what you talked about the Hellions. Very often people morph them into Hellbats, gives the Zerg a lot of time to react. He wasn't about that. He was like, okay, let's get some shots off, then we morph in. There's only 2 queens dealing damage. Got to deal a lot, 13 drones for all said and done. Very nice start.
Yep, but, you know, to obviously make it seem like it's not all that disastrous for Elazer, that was a pretty decent investment for time, right? We are looking at 7 Hellions in total going down, and after this he actually loses any ability to find more damage in the next minute or so. And with all these hatcheries and the queens still injecting, Elazer still maintains an 8 worker lead. So sure, time found damage there, but it wasn't all that bad for Elazer. And I think the biggest thing about it was that it didn't last very long, right? He actually took care of it relatively quick, and that means that he can go back into droning immediately. That Spire is halfway done right now. I don't think we have a single turret yet out on the map, so Elazer is actually in still more than a playable spot here.
And I'm looking at that purple creep spread across the map. That's going to go uncontested for quite some time. I mean, there is a little Marine squad moving out right now, which absolutely could start clearing things up, but I feel that you really want to cut the head off the Hydras, or cut at least the initial head off.
On the Hydras over here,
well, you know, the Hydra with multiple heads and stuff, but already this is very feisty from time. Moving in here, no upgrades really done for either side, and hey, he's backing off.
I just like how he didn't care about creep at all, by the way. Didn't even throw down his scan. It's not that he cleaned up the creep once he went for it. Nope, he just went all the way forward, maybe hoping that Elazer would have absolutely no units, only a couple of queens, and he could just take the fight against the queens, but there were still a couple of links nearby. And Elazer fires up 10 more drones, despite the fact that these Marines are pretty much in his face. 8 mutas are on the way, a great unit to harass, a great unit to pick up reinforcements. Not great in a straight up fight, but I think I kind of like it, because it does seem that time has not sent any additional units out to the other side of the map. So Elazer is going to get away with this, and he's going to start working with that Zerg economy that he's looking for. And I believe we still have no turrets.
No turrets whatsoever. This is going to catch him very off guard. Granted, he's making a lot of Marines, which are good. He's switching into the Widow Mines. He's getting the extra barracks and stuff, but this is going to be good eco damage from Elazer. Absolutely catching his opponent off guard. And look how greedy he is behind this, Kev. 9 drones, and he's already 85.
Yeah.
Elazer's off to a flying start.
Yep, he is behind in the upgrades though, and that is one thing that could obviously come back to be a bit of an issue if we start getting some of these big straight up fights. But the creep spread is looking fantastic, the macro is looking good from Elazer so far. Obviously there's no need for overlords because it's Elazer, so he can just build units all the way until he's maxed out. Time is gonna fire up a Thor already, relatively early here. Ben, you a fan?
You know what, when you're against mutas, what else are you gonna make? Like, it could be 3 Widow Mines at a time, but he sees that this Mutaflock went behind his base, which is a big deal. Makes you think that that Muta count isn't going to keep on growing, or at least the Thor will help deal with it. But Elazer, look at this. He's just wanting to deal damage. That tank behind it as well. I mean, very, very well done by time setting that up. But these Mutas definitely doing some damage here.
Yep, they are starting to find some damage, and it's obviously buying a lot of time for Elazer to finish up his own 1-1 upgrades. This is not quite a planetary fortress yet. There is a Widow Mine that's going to soften up a lot of these SCVs, and that mine shot helped Elazer a whole lot more than it helped time. Wow, if you talk about impeccable timing, he shows up 20 seconds later. He can't really do a whole lot because that's the planetary. So far, it is picture perfect play from Elazer, man. He's all over time, and he's showing us that as long as you keep those pesky Protoss players away from him, he could have a very decent run in this tournament, as time is trying to find some damage on the other side of the map, but he's not getting a whole lot. 21 SCVs went down, and time really needs to start finding a couple of victories, otherwise this is going to spiral out of control. Is Elazer paying attention to these mutas? By the way, Elazer is just doing a J-Dong impersonation over here, man. 2 groups of mutas.
Yeah, and he's making 10 more. He's already got +1 on them as well. So these upgrades, he's actually prioritizing the muta upgrades over the ground upgrades, which is crazy, but he's doing such a good job of defending. His bank's going to keep on growing. The bases keep on growing as well, up to 5 already. Very nicely saturated as well. I'm worried for time in this game, man. He's kind of like contained in his quadrant, and that is not where he wants to be.
I am absolutely worried, but the one silver lining is that there is no hive tech anytime soon, right? And we don't have to worry about Adreno Glands, 3-3 and Ultra. So a Terran player can absolutely be down in supply a little bit, because all it really takes is 1 or 2 great Widowmine shots, 1 or 2 good fights off creep, and time will be completely back in it. Elazer needs to find a lot of damage. He's going for it. He's getting on top of a couple of Thors, and that is just a ludicrous amount of Mutalism. I feel like we're looking at 20 plus Mutas, but since this is still lair tech, Elazer does need to be a little bit careful, right? We've seen games like this time and time again. I absolutely love the fact that he's just got 2 sets of Mutas flying around, Ben.
Yeah, the Mutas in the base have done a lot of damage. How many workers have gone down for time this game? Because this is absolutely not what you want from it. 30 SCVs. Like, you're the one that wants to deal that kind of damage. And look at the resources lost tab as well. I think Elazer's actually ahead in that, which is crazy with Mutaling Baneling.
Yep, and I do love the Burrow. This is something that I praise Elazer a lot for. I really think he's one of the best Zergs in Europe, or maybe the best Zerg in Europe when it comes to utilizing Burrow against Terran players. The one downside for him here is that his creep is actually so good that there aren't going to be too many positions where he can really burrow these Banelings, but as long as he's finding damage like this, and as long as he's making it pretty much impossible for time to ever go up to 5 bases, he's gonna be fine. But his army is still an army that could lose. We cannot count time out, as we do have a couple of Widowmine shots here. Good split initially by Elazer. Good follow-up split as well, but does he have enough to take out the Planetary Fortress?
That is so many Banelings just running in there. I mean, this is costly for Elazer, don't get me wrong, but might be able to take it out, and he does, even getting all those SCVs. Time is forced you an absolute all-in situation. He has to go, because he cannot recover from this.
Yep, he does have 103 army supply against only 92, but Elazer's remaxing on 76 links. He's obviously going to be able to morph a lot of those into Banelings, and he knows all he needs to do is make sure that he does not die against the next attack. And if he can prevent that, he is going to be fine. The Mutas is still going strong in the main base. Another Orbitor is about to fall, and maybe even that Thor could be in a bit of trouble. If I was Elazer, I would eventually bring these units home though, because all he needs to do is clean this up on creep, and then he's golden.
Yeah, I mean, he's killing him from the inside out, man. Like, this is brutal. These little squads of Banelings as well. Friendly fire on the Widowmines, killing some of these medevacs. All those medevacs are absolutely juiced out as well. Elazer, he is playing at a pace that I haven't seen him play at a long time, and he's doing it in his way.
Yep, a few more Banelings are going to slowly but steady clean up these units on this side of the map, and that is all that Elazer needs to take the 1-0 lead in his opening series in the 3rd group stage here at the DreamHack Masters Atlanta. And suddenly my microphone went incredibly loud, so I just blew out my own eardrums, but it is all good. That's a great game by Elazer. It was competitive, and it really was, I think, a bit closer than what it perhaps looked, because it kind of looked like it was the one big Elazer show. But since he was stuck on lair tech, those are moments, though, that you do need to be a little bit careful, because one bad fight, there are no Adreno Glands in sight, no Ultras on the way, no Spellcasters, but the timing here of these links right before the Planetary was perfect. And then the big Baneling attack, where he did manage to blow up all the SVs and the Planetary, that one worked out as well.
Yeah, this is the fight you're on about here. And I mean, there was a lot of damage done from those Widowmines, but those Banelings, they got big value for money. And look at this. There's Mutas in the main base as well, dealing a lot of damage while this is going on. 35 SVs going down. That didn't include the Widowmine either, I don't believe. And here, Elazer just did what he had to do, man. Like, he's catching up on the 2-2. He's got money. He's got a big bank here to utilize as well. More Lings on the way. This was a super clean performance from Elazer.
And what about him cosplaying as Jaedong?
I know, the Mutas here, there, and everywhere. That was great. Defending, doing the harass over there as well. That was a really hard game for Time to get out of, and you know, I think Time, if he was against a lesser Zerg there, he'd have been able to do something with those armies, but Elazer didn't even give him a chance.
And the reason why we don't see that kind of Muta play very often is just because Mutas, yes, they are fast and they can be very annoying, but they are also so fragile. And right-clicking them on a refinery the way that Elazer did, that is so risky. Because you're looking at the other side of the map for 3 seconds, Marines don't just attack, but they move command underneath your Mutas. They'll pick off 5 or 6 before you can even react. But it just never happened. And I'm sure that Time tried a couple of times, but Elazer was clearly on top of it. Bulletproof at home defensively. Sure, lost a couple drones at first against the Hellions, but that was like 7 Hellions in total. And it doesn't really kind of go back to that first Reaper and that first Hellion that Time lost, because we already saw how successful the 2 Hellions were at that 6 o'clock base. Imagine if he has a Reaper and 3 Hellions there, right? There's a chance that instead of 13 dead drones, we're looking at 20 dead drones, and then suddenly it becomes a much more difficult game for Elazer to macro out of. But it was a fun one, and that means that this man has got some work to do here in the second game in his opening series of the third group stage. We often call him the best Chinese player of all time, and he absolutely deserves that title. Representing Kaizi Gaming, Atlanta, make some noise for time.
The crowd is alive and spawning over in the bottom left as our Blue Zerg makes some noise. It is Elazer. I think a lot of that game stemmed down to Elazer just being comfortable once the initial harass got out of the way, just drone like a madman. Because I feel that when Elazer gets, I want to use the word defeated in TVZ, it's very often these constant little fights that happen, like the Clems of the world, you know? And it's very hard to do that, but as soon as he was given the space where it's like, hey, I can get my creep spread out, I can drone up, I can get into my zone, that really allowed him to flourish and shine. And then when it was about him being able to be the one to be aggressive and keep time back, that's how Elazer loves to play the game.
Got a couple updates for you guys as well of the third group stage. There are obviously so many great games happening, so if you have the possibility, make sure to take a look at the B stream and the C stream as well. But our Canadian man Trigger just keeps on going, man. He wins his opening series in Group C as well, 2-0 over Mio Maika. So he is just on an absolute run. Defeats Su, defeats Lambo, now defeating Mio Maika as well. Maru won his opening series in the TVT over Elazer. I think we already mentioned Neep winning his opening series versus Gong Fu Banda. I think that's kind of it. But Gabe also winning his opening series, 2-0 over Zan. So Big Gabriel, it may not be Monday night, but seems like he's feeling it too.
Absolutely. I mean, Zaun, he's a player that a lot of players here absolutely have to be wary of. As far if you're a Terran player and you're a Maru, he's one of the guys that can absolutely take you down. But Big Gabe, he's a different beast when it comes to TVP, man. Like you said, he is the absolute player that people should look at when it comes to how to play TVP, because he just knows how to get that matchup done.
Yep, there's really something special about Gabe's TVP, and I'm sure that we'll have a possibility to talk about that down the line. For now, let's take a look and see if Elazer is paying attention in the early game. At this level, the Reaper shouldn't really accomplish a whole lot. On the tinier maps, I think it's acceptable to lose a Zergling as a Zerg. You definitely don't want to lose any drones. That's something you want to prevent at all costs, but Elazer says, well, I'm not going to lose anything. What about that? And we'll say, we like that, Miko. We like seeing you play well. He is obviously a DreamHack champion. That's something that people sometimes forget, but he was the only player to win a WCS DreamHack back then in the year that Neep was dominating the majority of those events. Neep winning 3 out of 4. Elazer was the one who was able to win back then in Valencia.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a really well-decorated career. Like, he was one of the players that went to GSL World, and, you know, a lot of people are like, does he really deserve to be there? He absolutely showed up, made it all the way to the final. Actually, one of the only players to really push Cyril as well, losing narrowly out 2-4. But, yeah, Elazer, he's been on fire ever since he joined Team Liquid. I felt it was a good revitalizing to his career kind of thing. Much like a lot of players when they joined Shopify, they just kind of got really damn good all of a sudden. But Elazer, ever since he wore those blue and white colors, he's been performing really damn good.
Yeah, sometimes you just need a change of scenery, right? I did feel that he was always very happy with the support that Ego Esports XCOM, I believe that was the full name of the team, gave him. But obviously if Team Liquid shows up and they knock on your door, there are very few players on this planet that will say like, no, I'm happy where I'm currently at. Obviously the shirt looks good on him, and he definitely seems to just be having a great time traveling to the headquarters of Team Liquid quite often, spending some time in the Netherlands with his teammates, playing some games with Clem and whatnot. Elazer is doing good, and it's really cool to see that that man has not peaked yet, because there was a time that he was actually the best performing non-Korean player of all time at BlizzCon when he made it all the way to a semi-final after defeating Showtime in the quarterfinals. The following year he made top 8 again at the biggest tournament of the year, and at one point people thought, is Elazer's career going downhill? I have the feeling we're going to see him peak one more time, Ben, and be absolutely fantastic if it would be this weekend for him.
At least one more time, you know. He's still a relatively young player, so never can count him out. And he was the first non-Korean to defeat Dark back then on his unkillable run kind of thing. And so far, he's looking damn good here. That first game, it was just clean, man. It was like textbook, no mistakes. The muta movement was good. The unit movement was good. Overall, here, that Zergling scout that he got in the base early on was actually quite a big deal. He got to see that factory moving away from the reactor early on, like just after 4 Hellions, I believe, which means that he knows he wasn't against any kind of big Hellion flood, which is very nice for you getting your creep spread running. It's really nice also that you know that there's going to be a big bio ball coming out very soon. And look at this, by the way, from Time. These extra barracks are coming in so insanely early. This is very weird by him. This feels like he's going to absolutely stop SV production, and it's just going to turn into like a 3-orbital, 2-base all-in.
I mean, we kind of mentioned Big Gabe because we love talking about Gabe, and Gabe is obviously a TVP expert, but this right here is an absolute Big Gabe classic too. And Gabe has been able to pull this kind of a build off, even against the likes of Cero and Raynor quite a few times. And, you know, after spending a lot of time with Raynor, he's like, it's so frustrating. Man. He's like, I know it's coming, I scout it, I'm getting ready, I have a good engagement, and I still can't get the job done. And especially on a map like this. Like, I've seen this build look intimidating, look powerful on bigger maps like Data C. But if it hits hard on Data C, it's gonna hit even harder on the inside and out.
Yeah, this is actually a ridiculous way to do it. Like, he has done it in a very different way, because normally the Big Gabe special, it's you get your 5 barracks down, then the extra 3, you just don't get the add-ons on them, right? He was like, I'm going to get not just the 2 extra barracks, I'm going to get 5 extra barracks, so this is going to hit ridiculously hard. It's way more all-in, because it's just 1 engineering bay, right?
But he has 7 barracks, is correct?
I think he's on 7
or 8. Oh,
right?
yeah, it should be 8. I was about to say, like, 8 is a normal number, but I was like, I can only count 7. And I was like, that would be a bit different. Maybe he's done something that we didn't quite catch up on. But it is the good old 8 racks off 3 bases, only single eBay, +1 is close to finishing up. Elazer is not a guy that is known for his Overlord scouting, right? We know he likes to build a lot of them at once, but he does not like to do is sacrifice them to scout. And these are the kind of things that you do really want to pick up on, so you can just get ready for it. Maybe set up a flank way before it starts getting intimidating, rather than trying to react to a move out and then set up the flank.
Elazer's smelt something though, because I see those drone numbers that he's been making. He's just been kind of eking them out a little bit. Like, this is a massive scout. Yeah, if he gets into that mineral line with that single learn, he knows exactly what he's up against, or at least that he's going to be up against massive numbers. He's done a good job of not being too greedy. The creep spread's still strong. That 1-1 is very close to finishing for him, but not just yet. Not before this army turns up.
Yep. I mean, this is not a wall-off. The links can actually just go past, but I don't think Elazer has quite picked up on that yet. And that would be problematic, man, because if you're Time right now and you're this far to the other side of the map and you're on creep, you don't want to be paying attention to stuff at home. You don't want to be forced to micro your SCVs. He is losing SCVs, but it definitely feels that he's only looking at this part of the screen.
I think it's actually not bad, you know. Look at him. He's supply blocked heavily. That kind of fake wall that he had, or it was a wall, but it didn't work out very well. Look at his supply. It's absolutely terrible. Both of them supply blocked at this point, and Elazer, he survived to 1-1. I think he's in great shape.
Yep, and the Veiling count looks quite high. Tanks are going to get a couple of good shots off, though. Elazer is going to bring back those units that he had counterattacking on the other side of the map to create a little bit of a flank. And I want to say that this is more than good enough for the Poli Zerg, as he picks up the majority of the tank, and all that's left is a couple of Marines. Oh, what are you going to do with 7 Marines? You're not just going to stim in super deep on creep and take out multiple bases. Even the Queens are going to be hard to defeat for the leftover Marines. That was not good enough for Time, and that means that Time is in serious trouble.
He certainly is, and these Marines don't have +1 army yet, so these Queens are dealing full damage to them, and look at the medevacs, they're all falling as well. Elazer holds that all in from Time, and he does it so well with dealing counter-harass damage. He's in phenomenal shape, but he does have to spend that bank that he's got, Kev, because all those Queens, they weren't injecting.
Nope, but he's got a lot of hatcheries, so he should be able to spend it. We have a little bit of gas in the bank as well, so you can always morph more links into Bane links, and I think that burrow is already done, and that could be big, because just a couple of burrowed Banelings is potentially all that Elazer really needs. There are the burrowed Banelings that Elazer is so well known for, and he always pulls it off in such a cool manner. Queen's are going to try to buy some time. Elazer doesn't want to reveal them too early. We are counterattacking one more time, and he's just waiting for those perfect connections. But I absolutely love the counterattacks, man. Elazer is playing a pretty perfect best of 3 so far. Unfortunately, the scan does reveal those burrowed Banelings, as he's going to try to get a couple of spines up. We still have 900 minerals in the bank, but it does really feel that Elazer is in a magnificent spot.
I mean, the fact that he's killing all these reinforcements, and he comes back with the big wraparound with those units that were separating the army. The tanks are gone, the Marines melting. GG. Elazer with actually a super damn clean performance there. Absolutely beautiful from him.
And if he keeps playing like this, and he keeps on avoiding those pesky Protoss players, I am really curious to see how deep Elazer can go in this tournament, because Time is a guy that is very good and gets a lot of props from some of the best players in the foreign scenes. A lot of the top players even say that he's a top 5 player if you don't